on here. Like hurt anything. All right, let's see. First order of business is to the appoint president and vice president of board. Do we have any nominations?
Nominations for Stephanie president.
Do you have it? Okay, I have a nomination and a second. Is there any other nominations?
Who seconded that? Sorry. Thank you.
Take big, the bookends. All right, hearing none. Do I have a motion, or I have a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, good. Vice President, do we have a motion for Vice President?
Motion for Jay to be vice president.
Do I have a second? Do I have any?
Oh.
Go ahead. No, he made a motion.
Second.
Do I have any other nominations? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Thanks. First, Brian Hopkins, Veterans Office, but I didn't see him. I don't see Brian. Okay. We'll go on down to Rochelle Library. Hello.
So you guys, when we did our budget and we had paperwork for the bond, which has been released, the amortization schedule was not in at that point in time. The DLGF didn't have that in there. So when we hit for the budget, it did not pull those numbers in. So we just needed to do the additional appropriation tonight that pulled that in for DLGF.
Okay. And the additional has been advertised?
Yes, it was already advertised, now it's in Gateway, so it's
Okay.
translated in Gateway.
Okay, so we have an additional appropriation in front of us. It's ordinance resolution 2026-1-20-1 for the Rochelle Franklin Township Public Library in the amount of $151,000 out of their debt services. Do we have any questions? Do we have any motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
All right, I have a motion by Wayne. Do I have a second? Second. Amanda or Carrie, take your pick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
We have two copies, so she'll have a copy and I have a copy, and we'll get that uploaded. And I did send you guys emails for groundbreaking tomorrow, so I'll have an event will be there. Real quick, we can get in and out and go back in the building for, and then do an interview, but. Maybe Charlie, we'll start January 30th. So hopefully our goal was before Blues Fest.
Oh, he is back. Hey, you want to chat? We're a little smooth jazz while we're signing things. Always helpful.
I'll do that this morning. This is fun.
Technology at its finest.
Yeah.
It's cozy too.
This is why we shouldn't have the same brand TV.
Yeah, that is true.
See, it shuts that one off too. We did not have these technical difficulties at the commissioners meeting this morning.
We didn't.
What if I unplug this one?
Well, that would work.
I guess that works. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next we've got David Clodfelter with 911.
I'm essentially asking
Thank you.
for 2 additional employees, so I can add staff to be on shift, be one above our minimum. Past few weeks, I've sat down and wanted to see how I can make it more affordable for everybody. So currently I have 3 senior dispatchers,
with the salary of 101, with Social Security, Medicare, and PERF, that comes up to 120,028. And then you have to add on, at minimum, the minimum of the health insurance, which is 13,171. And it can go up to 38,321 per employee, and then, of course, overtime.
And part of this is also to make my overtime budget, instead of, because I mean, last year I spent well over 100,000 just on overtime. And I was only originally allotted for 45. I'm trying to turn that into an expected expense rather than an unexpected expense. That's what happened last year. And additionally, with 3 people on a shift and 2 being our minimum, I can cut that down greatly, because when somebody calls off sick, I don't have to cover that shift with overtime. Right now, anytime somebody takes off or being sick, vacation, anything, I have to cover it with overtime. Doing this, it keeps me from doing that, and it allows the employee to be able to not feel guilty about having to have somebody come in on their days off when it's already covered for 2. Also, additionally, with 3 on, whenever we have a big snow event, I don't have to call in extra employees on overtime or any big event, like a house explosion.
We're starting these new ones out at 50. What's your other employees making now?
There's no pay increase for longevity. So if you're a dispatcher, I have a dispatcher who's been there 23 years, he's making the same as, well, he's making the same as once these new people, once they get released, they're making right at 50, they're making the same as him, because there's no longevity pay.
None of us are getting longevity pay. What's your dispatchers that's now being paid compared to starting these 2 new ones?
Oh, they're making the same as the new ones.
70s?
No, they're making 50,000. A dispatcher makes 50,000 right now. Senior dispatchers are at about 56,000. So
911 is a up to salary for each of those positions.
Hmm?
You can hire in at less. Because she's saying it's up to, that's the max that that position can take. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, the council set that up by the previous administration. That way you could start them in at a lower amount, and then as they were trained in probationary periods, then you could increase the salaries.
yeah. Generally on pay for our probationary period is 6 months. So when they start on their training for 6 months, they're on probation for a year, but probation pay for at least 6 months. And I can extend that out.
Give me some time.
David, could you go over that again? You said you wanted to add these, but we were limited what?
2 supervisor positions, because they're not filled right now. And so if I have 4 senior dispatchers, one that allows us to have somebody in charge of the shift. But that also will put some of that supervisor roles on myself and my deputy director. Which me and her have sat down and talked to be our own table.
So it's a net gain of 2.
What's that?
It is a net gain of 2.
Yep.
You want to add 4 and take away 2. Okay.
No, I just want to have 2 people.
But you're eliminating the,
The position, I want to take away the supervisor position and add 2 supervisor positions, take away, add 2 dispatchers.
so wouldn't that be a net 0 if you had them filled?
If what?
Like if you had the, you could have those positions filled right now, correct?
Because I'm on, my max number of position people is 10 plus myself and deputy director. I want to be 12 plus myself and deputy director.
Are you looking at, because you want to eliminate the senior dispatchers, you're in essence eliminating the difference in the salary pay? And that's how you're finding some of the money?
Correct, yes.
Right. But Jay's saying with what he currently has already budgeted, he could have 2 other positions filled that are not being filled. Right, Jay? Is that what I was?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
understand.
okay, so, the way I was always understood was a max number of people. And I don't have people in my supervisor role, but I did add 2 people on my dispatchers. So right now, I'm sitting at 3 senior dispatchers and 7 dispatchers. No supervisors. What I'm wanting to do is take away the supervisors, add 2 more dispatchers, and 1 more senior dispatcher spot that'll get moved up within one of the dispatchers.
But you've been operating this ever since the last budget hearing, right? What you're operating with right now, without these 2?
Correct. But overtime is high. It's starting to drop off now that we have gotten, beginning of February, 2 people are coming, off of training. So that's gonna start dropping down because we're not gonna have so many shifts to fill. But if somebody leaves or whatever, or takes a week-long vacation, then it's gonna pick right back up.
My fear is that when we look at the numbers for 2025 versus the miscellaneous revenue, you're increasing your budget, and it's gonna be more than what the revenue is coming in both of your funds. So, I mean, I agree. I think you need the dispatchers to help eliminate some of the overtime and to help eliminate stress and everything else on the other dispatchers. My fear is that this is gonna be something that is not sustainable, according to the numbers that we've been presented. Thoughts of the other council members?
That's okay on sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the new stuff that we've got coming up also. I know we can't keep saying that, but it is a fact, and we've got to that's what we're in the process of trying to figure that out also. But even with our current numbers, it's not sustainable. The one is not sustainable. Your PSAP, your budget more than revenue coming in is by 53,000. And then on your 911 budget, it's 15,000. And I know that these 2 funds have always been close every year for years and years and years. So it's not anything that you or previous has done, it's just that revenue is not what it used to be way back when, so. I'll shut up now. Anybody else?
If we are to bring this up in budget time, because we're gonna have to figure out how to sustain this 2 employees more than 1 year, and if we're not in the right situation to regard them and then turn around and have to fire them, it's not gonna be, I think we need to wait till the budget hearing and then we'll sit down and try to figure out how to solve the problem.
I think this is definitely something that's not going away, and we definitely have to keep it on the forefront, also. Yes,
Yeah.
very much so,
There's no doubt he needs them, but we gotta figure out how to
to make it happen.
pay for them.
And this, but I've been pouring over the
I know.
numbers as well, so,
And you've only got so much to work with,
yeah.
so
I'm still confused.
I'm always confused,
The-
so.
The positions that aren't filled that you wanna eliminate,
Correct,
we budgeted for those,
yes.
but you knew you couldn't fill them?
Well, what was it, October? Right now, I don't have anybody that I'm monitoring in the supervisory roles.
Okay.
It just wouldn't be there's nobody that's stepping up to that part of the equation. So I don't wanna put anybody in those roles that aren't ready, because they could do more damage than they can help. So right now, I'm wanting to
When you did that though, when you asked the council about not hiring the seniors, did you, I'm trying to remember, if I remember correctly, did you put those two people that would have been in those positions in your regular dispatcher positions?
I transferred it over.
Right,
Not,
so you,
not for this year, but for last year.
last year.
Yeah.
So this year, are you spending more in the dispatcher line item than what was budgeted for this year?
So far right now, yes.
Yes. So you're spending more out of the dispatcher.
Yep.
Okay, so
But nothing
some of that
Yeah.
line item is committed elsewhere, basically.
Yes.
It needs to be.
The only difference between what you guys already approved and not being spent is the difference in the salary pay of a dispatcher versus the senior.
So can I ask, what is the need or the purpose to have that other senior dispatcher? Versus,
Basically be in charge of that shift. So, if I had those two additional people, I was looking at moving us to all 12-hour shifts. And then I would have 4 shifts, one with the senior dispatcher on each shift. And that was my idea, for them to be in charge of that shift. And then, or my deputy director need to step in or supervise or go home if need be.
so you're looking at trying to restructure things then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because also that way with the 12-hour shift, one person is stuck working every single weekend.
Mhm.
Been there, I've done that.
Right,
No.
right. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. So, the will of the board? Danny's the only one that said to readdress this at budget time?
That's the way I feel about it. If we're gonna sustain this for any amount of time,
Mhm.
we need to sit down and make sure we got a budget that's gonna take care of that. How do you, I don't always have the answers, that's just what, I can't see funding this for 1 year and not being able to fund it again.
Agreed, agreed. Anybody else, any thoughts?
I mean, it really doesn't make sense to add one, maybe that needs to be two,
Mm-hmm.
to make your shifts work out.
I mean, I could add one, but I mean, then I'm gonna have one shift with only 2 people on. And more than likely that'd be a night shift. So then, now they're not, I mean, fairness wise, I would like to have 2.
Yeah.
Because that way I can, cause then, those 2 people that are on the shift together, they're always on the shift together. And with 3 people on that shift, if you have a kid playing a basketball game here in town, you can come off for a couple hours, go watch your kid. They don't get to do that, but everybody else does. That's my,
Are you trying to make it 2 supervisors for each?
no.
No, just one.
Just, not a supervisor, it would be what's called a senior dispatcher, which they would be in charge of the shift. They'd be the one I'd go to for whatever.
Okay.
Could you come back in a month with like what you would spend in a month, with your plan versus what you budgeted to spend for a month with the 2 supervisors? And
Yeah, I could have
so we could see that,
I could have that tomorrow.
because I mean, if the money's fairly close, then it's really a no-brainer to add the people.
It would just take me about an hour with a calculator and figure it out.
Like I said, if the money's already budgeted and we're not spending it, then it seems silly not to put people in
Yeah.
those.
I mean, essentially, in my mind, just on, if we did all this, it would be, I'd be about $40,000 short of, for just the salaries, for the 2 people.
But you're spending $120,000 a year in overtime, which some will go
Yeah,
away, so
Yeah,
it's,
and then that's what I'm saying,
Yes.
I'm making an expected
Yes,
savings
yes,
instead of
yes.
unexpected savings. So I'm not having to come in here in October,
Yes.
November begging for more money. So,
so if you could have that for us for the next meeting, I think it'd make it a lot clearer.
definitely.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Monica?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Monica Wallace. I'm the Director of Satellite Services for Hamilton Center. And we don't receive the county funds, but I think it's appropriate to let you know what's going on in your county. So I just like to come and give you some numbers. So this is based on 2025 fiscal year. So in Putnam alone, we had 610 service or individuals receiving services. services, about 82% of those are below the poverty level. And then we have currently 8 employees that even work in Putnam County for our offices here. And then our inpatient days, we have a unit that's in Vigo County. It's above our main center. It's a 16-bed unit. And so far, in that year, we've had 135 service individuals come from Putnam County that have utilized those services. So just kind of give you an idea of those. Outpatient services based, it's a little over 6,600 in that year that we've done. Just providing those services in the community, at home, all different ranges. Salaries, benefits, expenses were around $926,000 pretty much every year. It always varies back and forth. We give away that last year about $17,000 in charity care of individuals that can't afford, or might be like on a sliding fee scale, those types of things. So just a little bit. If there's anything you're always wanting to know, you're always more than welcome to reach out. Anything specific. Currently, right now, we have 4 therapists. 3 of them are licensed, and 1 of them is working towards licensure right now. So we have a wide variety between children and adults or geriatric patients right now. So providing a wide scale between mental health, substance abuse, and overall behavioral health as that holistic approach. So if you have any other questions, please let me know.
Do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, and Brian just emailed us, Hopkins, and he had an emergency. He apologized, and he will be at our next meeting for his introduction. So you can take him off the agenda. Next, we have the Commissioner's additional appropriation for $315,000 out of the County General Fund. This is to replace the fuel station at the Highway Department, which is utilized by multiple departments for the county vehicles. If we do not want to pay it from the County General Fund, there's other possibilities, are the Edit Warches or the QMCAP development. Commissioner, do you have anything that you wish to add?
Yeah, we need it.
Okay.
The tanks are 30 years old, so
Yeah, no, it's a,
they're past their life expectancy.
Yep.
And then we get these new tanks in over the top, and then it'll drop our insurance down.
Right.
We'll save us about $3,500 on insurance.
Do we have a county budget, or do we need to look at award checks?
no, we'll have to do an additional out of this. I'm assuming that this has only been advertised out of County General, Christina, or what did you do?
That's correct.
So this has been advertised out of County General. If we want to do it out of there, if not, we can look at the other ones and we can make a motion to approve pending advertisement and final approval at next meeting if you wish to, or we can just do it out of County General, whatever the board wishes to do.
We just don't want to wait too long, whatever, the rate will probably go up again.
No, regardless, one way or another, we'll figure it out tonight. That way you guys can continue to move forward with it because it needs done. Anybody?
Make the
Anything?
motion to approve it as is.
All right, I will Wayne out of County Journal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. There you go.
Can we talk about some other stuff yet, or if you want me to wait?
Let me go through the rest of the additionals, please. Next, we have a $50,000 one out of the 911 fund for the professional work for radios for Pyramid. Did you know that one?
What's that?
Did you know about that one? That's for the contract that you guys signed, the commissioner signed for Pyramid to do the advertising, the RFPs, to proceed forward with getting the numbers, the quotes for their radios, the new radios that the county is looking at getting for the entities. Did commissioners have anything want to add? Because I'm talking for you now. He's pointing at you.
I was gonna say he's pointing at you.
He is.
Who do you think?
You're presidente. This is your baby.
Yes.
Yes.
According to all of our people that have radios, we need new radios.
We do.
And there is, but the report I have gotten back, some of the radios that are now in use, they can be used for this new system.
That the antennas and everything that you guys are
Yep.
putting up. Very good.
Yep.
Good.
And so the RFP right now is gonna be a one-to-one radio quote. So
other questions? And this one was advertised out of the 911 fund for 50,000. Do I have any other questions or a motion?
So moved.
Amanda made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Pick,
Everybody.
Wayne, Danny. All those in favor say aye. They also have a radio committee. Is there anybody that would like to sit on their committee, not as a voting person by no means, but to listen or whatever, that would like to do that? If not, I will, as long as the meetings work with my schedule. Okay.
Just
You'll let me
dependent
know.
when,
Thanks.
yeah.
February 3rd.
I added it on there. Pizza, remember? Yeah, yeah, I heard that one. Get rid of one lunch and then I go to another one. Okay, our next one we have are the auditor's additionals.
Yes, the first one's $1,933, and that is 100% my fault. When I was doing the raises for everybody, I missed the office manager.
Okay.
So she would appreciate getting her increase in pay.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Christine, take the pick.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and go ahead.
And the second one, I wasn't made aware until this year of mandated increases, so didn't know to put those in the budget.
Weren't they notified typically before our budget timeframes or whatever?
Well, they were in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually it's put in their budget
They're
request.
correct.
Mhm.
That's always been done in the past. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, we have a county general additional for $21,571 for our adult probation. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Gary made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The last one I have is 6,000. It's just the annual one that I do for the elected training fund. And it's just appropriate money to help for elected officials and their first deputies in regards to going to state-called conferences.
Okay, do I have any questions? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Amanda made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Carrie, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. And you have a reduction for $24,677 for pretrial.
Yes, that's just cleaning up since we had it in county general and pretrial.
Do I have a motion or questions? Motion for approval?
So moved.
Carrie made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Wayne, second. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. We have minutes from the December 16th. Is there any changes or corrections that need to be done?
I saw a typo. It was, third page. Third paragraph down, it says a little of 2 million, I assume it's over instead of.
What is it?
The third line on the little of 2 million in it.
Is it supposed to be over probably, but
Okay, I will get that changed.
doesn't matter.
Anything else? Do I have any motion for approval with the corrections?
So moved.
Amanda made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll finish this in just a, yeah. Next, under old business, we have annex. I know that we had a resolution at our last meeting that has been asked to be brought back to this meeting. Do we have any more? I know we're having a joint meeting afterwards, which we will definitely have that also. Is there any questions, concerns? I know we've had Garmong and Envoy have both met with several other council members to, especially with Danny missing it, so that he could get caught up on things. Do we have any more? I'm sure we have a lot more discussion. Is there anything anybody?
We were
would like-
just do it all with the joint session? It might,
I don't care either way, it was just here, so,
That was on the agenda prior to the joint
joint
session
session.
being,
yeah, I think it might be,
granted.
and we're past 7, so we could,
yes, we can
so we
start
can move
that.
into the joint session if we want. That way we can have maybe a conversation with everybody.
I'd like to bring up the resolution for the annex.
Well, that's what we're talking about, let's bring up that resolution at the joint session, so let's, go ahead and end this meeting. Oh, yeah, you have some updates, I forgot, you didn't keep me in line, but
Podium down, I'm gonna get my paperwork on.
Boy.
Okay, the first thing I wanna bring up is the county earned $834,862.74 in interest money last year, which is put into the county general fund. I'm here tonight to ask, last year we asked for the interest that was put into the general fund to be put towards bridges, and we are asking if we can, be able to do that for this coming year. And we met with Clint and Robin today, and for the bridges that we need to get replaced for this coming year, it'll be, approximately $1,984,535, plus, we're wanting to start talking about Bridge 45, which is on the county road between Henry County and Putnam County north of 36. And I went back through some motor records, and the estimated cost we had last year at that time was $3.5 million. So we could maybe, if we could start working on some of that, because it's gonna take probably 2.5 to almost 3 years to get that job completed, because the first step is to get all the permitting from the state and finding a home for that iron bridge. So it'll have to be moved and put in place, and we're supposed to be in contact with the Henry County Commissioners to see if they'll cost share, but we don't know if they will or not yet. So, anyway. And the bridges, if you wanna know the bridges that we're gonna be working on and doing, is Bridge 154 off of Airport Road. It's gonna be $850,000 to finish that. We've already, paid for, the design work, which was $158,000. We paid it from the money that we had left from the bridges that we did last year. The other bridge is Bridge 92, that's on 100 East out here west of Greencastle, south of Parker Stone Quarry. That will get replaced. Bridge 95, that's the bridge going into Clinton Falls, if you're coming into Clinton Falls from the south. The other bridge is 211, that's in Jefferson Township. That's where the road's closed at because the bridge is bad, which would go into Hendricks County, almost Morgan County. And then Bridge 45. So if you add it all, cost of Bridge 45 plus all the rest of it together, you're talking $5.5 million. Which we know we can't do $5.5 million in 1 year. But anyway, that's why I'm standing up here and asking how much of the interest money that's put in the general fund we can use. Last year, you guys approved to give us $400,000. No, $500,000. No, I'm wrong.
600,000.
600,000. Yeah.
You gave them the 600,000 that the previous treasurer had accumulated over her 8 years that she was, the treasurer. So it was kind of like a one and done interest. So you guys appropriated that. The money that he's talking about this year, that's calculated in your county general budget already to fund your budget.
yeah, it's the part of the miscellaneous revenue
Yeah,
that's.
interest is used as your miscellaneous revenue, so that spreadsheet that I put together for your additionals, miscellaneous revenue, your interest is included in that to float your budget. So you need to look at not interest, but the bottom number of what is left after all the formula of what you have for additionals.
Total interest for the year was $844,000.
that's factored into the county general budget to float all the budgets currently.
But we do have 2.9 million in the rainy day fund, 2.9 million in the war chest.
We will work on our edit fund for this next month too. So we'll take money out of it. Listening to testimony in the legislators today, they're talking about repealing the lit stuff for one more year. Go to 29 to give, so everybody can figure out. So we may have an edit fund and stuff for next year. We may not have to figure all all this lit income tax out this year. So the testimonies today on the committees.
Well, and that's what was discussed at the Farm Bureau update on Saturday morning also.
Then the next thing, while you're thinking about that.
Well, I think that's something that we can just,
Huh?
I think we need to look at all of our numbers and do the calculations and see what we have to be able to take any money out of stuff before we do it. My thought is just to hand out money, so I think we need to look at all of our funds and our numbers of things.
And today in the commissioner meeting, we met with Joni with the health department on their building. Anyway, to redo that building, the cost will be $410,477.44. And we approved that today. And we talked to taking out money out of the war chest, or was it the rainy day fund?
We left it open.
Yes.
We left it open-ended. We're going to make the payments of building out of the hazardous waste
Right.
fund. Where that money's going to come from.
We can use 10% of that a year for that building, and then we can still use 10% of it for the county highway department.
There's a couple ways you can look at that. This week, we are putting out bids. Sounds like the hospitals, we found out today in our commissioner meeting, is going to be out early. They originally told us March 1st. We were kind of waiting to see if the Fed would drop the interest rate one more time before we purchased it. But now they're talking they're going to be out in February. So we will put out bids for that, for the loans. We can do a couple different ways. We can put out just a loan for the $700,000 and make it the commissioners talked at probably a 5-year note, or maybe even less. We're going to get bids for
Right.
quotes for 5 and 10 years. But we can also encumber all that money into the loan if we want. That way the hazardous fund pays all of it. We just may have to go out an extra year or two. Depends on, Andy, was it
There's
107?
$113,508 that we could take out of that, but the things of it is, one thing that could be eliminated but made smaller would be the generator. And if you put in a smaller generator, then it's just gonna be enough generator to cover the essentials that they need to keep running if the power goes
Which
out.
would be the vaccination coolers and things like that, that's mandatory.
And the other thing is, which they said they might be able to get away with using, but if we're gonna redo the building, let's redo the electrical service, which that's gonna be $20,000, plus the 200 amp service is another see, I'm trying to read that number, kind of look together, it looks like 5615 for it. And then on the insulation, with the old bat insulation, they can do a spray foam insulation, which would be better, and that added another 5,600 to that. And then the other part was to install the negative pressure exhaust for one room, which is $1,293.
So if you don't feel comfortable with taking the 400,000 out, I mean, we can look at it both ways. The health department volunteered that they were going to spend 10,000
Yep.
to get the CDRs, to get the homeland security, and get all that stuff going, all the construction design. So that they have the funds in theirs, it's already appropriated. The
the delay. It keeps the process moving
So
forward.
it'll take at least a month or more, I mean, you guys know all about that stuff. So, but those are the two options. If you're worried about where to find the 400,000, where to take it from, then we can always encumber it into the entire process. And just get along for the whole round. So,
Does that include those upgrades?
yes.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, if you include all.
Yeah, the total cost would be, if all of it together, is $1,110,477.44.
Yep. So a 10-year note out of there would be sufficient to cover that.
Because we talked today with Christine, if we just did a 10%, we could get 200 and some thousand a year, right?
Yep, yep. So 10% is 200,000, so 5-6 years would cover it. And that's still also taking the 10% out for roads.
Right.
That doesn't affect that number at all.
Questions? Thoughts?
Commissioner, you're looking for direction.
If we could afford it, we need to take some of it out without finance all of it. If we got it somewhere where it's war chest, rainy day fund, at least some of it, keep it down, the cost and interest or whatever that accrues, but I don't know where we should take that from. I think we should pay some of it instead of putting it all on one. That mountain of interest is gonna be a lot more money if we just paid some out of one of our accounts. That's just my thought.
I think we run into the same thing though of if we keep taking out of the rainy day and the war chest, then we're gonna get to where there's not much left. Cause the last two things were discussing rainy day and war chest. So eventually, if we keep taking out of it, there won't be anything. I agree, it is something that we do need, but it's just the matter of how.
What was the source of payment when we were doing the last building?
The,
Federals.
Yeah, same, it's gonna be hazardous waste. Yeah, the funding source to pay for any building is gonna be hazardous waste.
Okay.
The state law that, because it's medical,
Yeah.
or whatever the proper terminology is.
emergency
It
operations.
is allowed to use out of there.
What if we, over the last several years, used the hazardous waste fund?
Say that again.
What if we funded from the hazardous waste over the last several
Your
years?
911 center.
And then in between that, I mean, once that was paid for,
The last thing we did was the software upgrade, $1 million software upgrade, which is 11 years ago, to the 911 center. That was the last thing we put out.
Has it been that long?
and then it's just been miscellaneous things here, there, and yonder until we realized that we could use it for bridges, for roads and bridges. So what if we looked at our funds between now and our next meeting and,
Here's one way to look at it.
oh,
If you do the entire amount out of hazardous waste, none of that is taxpayer dollars. That is
Correct.
from the hazardous waste paid by the companies that fall in there, so.
I agree, which we're hoping to increase.
Throwing that out there. I know it costs more interest to add the 400,000 in, but.
I just feel like if those are restricted funds, and we gotta wait to use them as they're intended, then that's probably a good thing to do, is if our rainy day funds can be used for anything, then we can maintain flexibility,
Agree?
I agree.
so. I would be in favor of probably lumping it all together in the hazardous waste myself, but I don't have a problem waiting and seeing what we
And we can do both.
have numbers wise.
I mean, we can go ahead and, tentative do it with, we're gonna lump it all together, and in the meantime, also continue to we have to look at our numbers regardless, because there's other things going on, so look at our numbers and see what we've got coming up in front of us, and seeing how we're gonna make all this stuff happen.
Commissioners won't complain if you approve it all tonight.
At least not about this.
How are you,
No.
how are you who's sending it out? Do you guys are the bids together to send it out for financing, or how are you doing that? I was at the meeting this morning, so.
You talk to Mr. I fly around the United States.
I'll talk to Mr. Inslee when he's available. Okay, that's fine.
So the commissioners asked me today to put the package together to send to the banks.
Okay, fair enough.
Missed it.
Okay.
So, thoughts to the lump sum out of hazardous waste for it? Good with that?
Yep.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Jay, all right, Wayne, or Jay, Carrie did,
Carrie?
Carrie did, yeah.
Jay and Carrie.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, there you go.
For clarification, the motion was
For
for,
all of it's for the Board of Health to be paid for out of the hazardous
309
waste.
Manic Way.
Yes, 3019 Medic Way, for the reconstruction of the new building that they are in the process of purchasing.
okay, just making sure that we were
Yeah.
on the same, it's in the minutes that way. Thank you.
The one other thing that will come to you in a couple months.
We'll save it for then.
I strategically waited.
Uh-huh. Good at that.
The banks will require 2 more appraisals.
Okay. Jeez.
It doesn't matter which way you voted.
I
mean,
know.
No matter where the money comes from, that's the appraisals are outdated, and they're gonna require them.
Thanks for, thanks for the heads up.
Just saying.
Bearer of good news.
All right, is there anybody else? Christina? Oh, really? Anybody else? Any board updates? I know it's new, so, okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Danny made motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Wayne second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, let's finish this real quick so we can get this stuff out, and then we will start our
Who seconded that?
joint meeting. Huh?
Who seconded that?
I don't remember now. Wayne?
Just pick
Yeah.
one? Okay.
It's Wayne.
Ian.
And then there is also, an item, environmental management mail, that if anybody would like to look at it, or Bootsy, again.
We can do that another, just a few $1,000.
We get cool stuff like that all the time.
That's how much money we got in interest. Uh-huh. Yeah, I will talk to her, because she's way off.
I see him.
That's how much.
Free lunch.
That's a big difference.
Here,
At least in my budget, that would be a big difference. I don't know about yours.
That's a lot. It's very tiny. Very tiny. Yeah, see, you want to try to read that
Yeah,
one?
no, I'm good.
I work with her, we used to keep, we don't want gallons of vinegar and wash our vehicles, and we don't have that.
if I have a copy of what she gave you. Maybe I can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I just looked it up in our financials.
I'll wait till Amy's done.
Yeah. I don't know where she got that number. Can I make copies of this, and then, I'll get this back to you, and I'll ask Carrie about it. Because what was budgeted and what was receipted into county general, that's how much was receipted into county general under interest. Last year it was the 800,000.
You need to learn that. You need to
See,
start
last year she only has
I know, I thought
492, and
I
that's
only
not
have them
right.
in my bag, but I ate them all.
We made the difference in June till the end of the year because when she transferred the money to other accounts, it brought in more money.
Well, remember that, yeah. But that's how we got that $600,000 additional from the council last year, is because it wasn't factored into the did that, cashed out the investment.
33 years of it.
And that, she had that interest earned from having it someplace for 8 years. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that number, because what I'm seeing in our financial system isn't backing up that number. So I need to talk to Carrie.
No, I know where they're at. I know. That's how you fans become insufferable now, won't we? We'll be insufferable, those Purdue fans now. Yeah, I can suck it in with that. I got your.
So, you know, Gabby, my Purdue graduate, was like, she's like, Mom, we just can't. We can't have that mojo in our
She almost
house.
went to Miami.
She did, she's like, I can go get my Miami sweatshirt out of my closet. And I'm like, oh, Gabs, come on.
Purdue fans are just.
I reminded her that that Purdue tuition was paid for by that IU diploma. So, a part of it,
Yes.
part of it.
No, it's fun.
She laughed, she said, we were laughing about it. She's like, I'll cheer for the team from Indiana, but I just can't bring myself otherwise.
No, you're okay. We got seats, but Catherine's parents have, I mean, they've had season tickets for 50 years.
Right, no, I mean, where did you sit at the game?
Oh, we were like 20-yard line, like 25 rows up, but we didn't pay $6,000. I mean, those are like, well.
We did too, we kept looking.
I was up on the jumbotron, so I must be photogenic or something.
Quintessential IU,
They
right?
were trying to get my daughter on there, I'm sure.
Okay. All right.
You gonna run?
No. But you guys move to the front maybe.
We'll call the,
Let's move to the front.
No, I'm just joking. That was
you
just a
fine
joke.
wherever
You're
you want to.
fine.
We'll call the joint meeting to order at 7:25 between the commissioners and the council regarding, well, I don't think it was just a joint meeting. I don't think there was a topic, was there? Was there a topic, Trudy? Jim?
So what?
It was building projects,
Yeah,
just future.
Building
not
project.
Just
current,
building
future building
projects. That's what I thought.
Whether it's health department, whether it's annex, I just left it pretty general.
so, like we were talking about at our other meeting, at the last meeting, we have a resolution that was presented to us regarding whether a project is needed or not. Do we have any more questions? We've got our consultants here to answer any extra questions that we have, to help explain anything further.
Well, I'm gonna question that,
Okay.
because the one I received when we voted on this commissioner says about building it. It doesn't say if we want it or need it or not.
So this one's resolution of the Putnam County Council determining need
I
for
handed it
project
to
and intent to proceed.
Intent to proceed.
Right,
I get
so
it.
so Jim, can you explain that? Cause you did the commissioners meeting before,
Well.
or Judy.
See, what,
It's
I
the
didn't
one
really-
from Ice Miller, and I talked to
you
Lisa.
say, that wasn't,
It was mine, so I talked to Lisa about it. It is the intent to proceed, it's that you need it, and you're proceed. It's not saying the amount that you're spending on it. You can still debate that, but I think we need to come to some consensus on that before we move forward, so we don't get ourselves in a situation where we're saying we're gonna build it, but we're not gonna pay for it, which we can't do.
that's
But-
my understanding as well,
Yeah.
is that the commissioners, because of them being in charge of the physical nature of projects,
Or not.
approved it as to build, and then you as the financial component, obviously, you hold the purse strings, do we have the need? After that, and again, speak up whoever was involved with this, the intent wasn't last month to like lock into, anytime, it wasn't like, yep, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do bonds, or we're gonna do this, it was, do we need to go forward, is it a need that we've had?
Do we need to continue to look at this to see
Right.
if this is something that we need to move forward with?
And I think some of the surprise was there's been, pretty significant amount of funds that have been approved in developing this project to all of a sudden say, we don't need it. I think that was the surprise, I guess. I was not here, so.
Right.
But again, it's like, okay, we're gonna spend all this money and then we don't need it all of a sudden. I think that was the kind of the question. I think when we proceed, I think everybody needs to be involved with how we decide how to finance it, if that's the way we do it. If you don't approve financing, you don't approve financing, I guess. That's my thought. I don't know.
And I would agree with Jim on that. I think the issue came up last month as to the numbers, which are significant. And do we need, I guess the question is, do we need it to that extent of the money? But we've had those discussions for quite a long time, to get to this point. Not making any decisions on how you're financing how, but they need the resolution that's in front of you. We need it to move forward to even see what our financing options are. As it is sending it, not if we're sending it to bid, if we're sending it out for bondage or using local banks, it still starts at the same procedure, and that is the council saying that we see a need for the project and we're going to move forward with it.
But,
Yeah.
on the other hand of that is, we gotta figure out how we're gonna pay for it, 'cause
I think that number has to
We
be,
agree with that.
Yes.
We need to raise some property taxes to pay for that, but I'm not.
Well, I just,
You all can deal with all the guys that own all the ground that wanna.
well, like I said, I think we have to get the number down to where we're comfortable with before we move any farther forward. I mean, to prove $16 million, when we're not willing to pay for $16 million, just kicking that can 2 months down the road, and then we say we're not gonna do it. So we need to decide on what's our top dollar we're gonna spend, period, and we have to get the building into that thing or do another design. I mean, there's no, like I said, just keep moving it down the road and then say, oh, no, we're not gonna pay for that. Well, what's the point of doing this
Possibility?
if 2 months later we're not gonna?
we're not gonna agree.
I don't, is that, I looked to our experts on, is that a possibility? I mean,
Oh,
we've had.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
our original goal was, laying out a square footage and program expectation along with a max dollar amount, right? And if that needs to change for whatever reason is, right, we would go back and evaluate what the program is, what the scope of the building is, and figure out how to modify, the overall scope of the project to get it in line with what the budget expectation needs to be.
Okay,
Okay, Mitch, after me and you talked on the phone a couple of different times, did you keep bringing figures?
Yeah, so conceptually, we had talked about doing an evaluation of just a single-story structure. So that would present some complications on the site, right? Because some of the two-story structure has to do with the natural fall. There's 20 feet of fall from the very south end to the very north end of the property. So, but we looked at just saying, what if we cut the building in half, right? It's a 26,000 square foot footprint today. What does it look like at a 13,000 square foot footprint? So approximately, right, because we don't have a complete
So
design.
that's how many square foot's in the upstairs part of it?
It's just a little over 13,000. So it's the same currently, the floor plan is effectively the same on the first and second floors. So cutting off just the bottom floor, reduces it to 13,000 square feet.
Okay, my other question is, how big is, because none of the stuff I got showed the dimensions of anything. Like the county courthouse, the square, whatever you guys wanna call that out in the middle, how big is that?
I think it's like 75 by 35.
I know it's about 30 wide, so.
I've seen this number.
That'd be about 8,500 square feet. No,
That's probably too big.
And that's, so
no,
that,
35 by what, 75? 30?
Yeah, 30 by
Well,
75.
30 by 70 would be 2,100.
Yeah, so it's 26, about 2,600 square feet.
So it's, yeah, 2,600 right in the middle.
Yeah,
and that also is all of the offices' waiting rooms. So there is no waiting room inside each of their office like they have now. So that's all their waiting rooms also.
They ain't got much of a waiting room now.
Some of the offices have quite a bit.
it
do.
would also
Weird.
encompass all the emergency egress. So like, you wouldn't be able to take that down to 0 without adding exterior.
Every department would still need a waiting room,
Yeah.
still need to add the egress corridors.
Yeah, you have to have a hall that is around. So, you know, the size of that space can be reduced, but it could theoretically, to have a code compliant square footage, you could never build it completely.
And it also allows for the overflow for the commissioner's room, like your last meeting that you had in here, the time before, where the room was full, people were standing on thing. So that can be set up for audio outside with TVs on the walls, along with chairs and stuff, so that people, it's a secondary room to the main chamber room also.
And the design intent of all this, instead of having individual, waiting areas was, if we put them all in one space, then
this department's heavy during this season, this department's heavy during this season. Now we're not giving everybody, space to deal with their busy times because they can all share the same space. Because in talking with the department heads, no one was, did their busy time at the same time, if that makes sense.
So how much is the cost of putting the basement in?
Yeah, so I went through and evaluated so the total cost per square foot, just the hard construction, because that's what we're talking about
Right.
changing. In the current design is just shy of $500 a square foot. Obviously, everything can't change, the site has to stay what the site's gonna be. So you're not gonna save $500 a square foot for every, square foot that you reduce. Some of those are fixed costs, right? So
Right.
roughly speaking, I anticipate, even conservatively, that would be about a $300 a square foot reduction. So at 13,000 square feet, 3.9 million, using round numbers.
You're saving 3.9,
But, yeah, correct.
so take 3.9 off that number.
Right. And again, very, very conceptual, right? There's a lot
So
of.
that puts it at 9 million. There's one at 12, there's 13 million for the cost of the building.
Yeah, 13.1 was
So
the
take
construction
3.9
cost.
off of that.
Correct, yeah. And another big portion of that is that certainly we're assuming you're removing the lower level footprint, which is probably about 40 to 45% shelf space in the current design. So, fewer cost per square foot in the cost of reducing that space because it's not being built out today than the main floor, which is completely built out.
And
Would that move that building to the north then, get off the slope?
Yeah, we have some buffer space before you hit the setback, from the city required setback. So yeah, we would want to push it as far,
North as you can.
well, I guess we could go either way. But yeah, we would want to push it one way or the other from where it is today. Either
Get it off the-
all the way south to get it all the way up high, or all the way north to have it all down low.
But if you kept it there on the south area, you're still gonna have to you're gonna have to dig and add dirt and stuff like that to be able, because of the grade, right? Or do you not?
I can't say for
Okay.
sure. That would take a more detailed
Gotcha.
look at things than what we did for this exercise.
Structural, tell us how deep those footings are gonna have to be so we can avoid the rock too, one story.
what about the avoid the rock to put the basement in?
Yeah, we moved the building to avoid the rock. So, I don't see rock as being a concern.
Was that a core drill or was that just sonogram?
Both. So we found a rock on core drill, and then that caused us to do the ultrasound, effectively rock sounding, to find out where the high spots were. And then we shifted the building approximately, I think it was 40 or 50 feet to the west. And then probably another 20 to 30 feet to the south, a little bit.
By the current plan, so how many square feet is not gonna be utilized in the lower floor? I know somebody's gonna say we can use it for storage, but I just wanna know how many square feet that is.
Yeah, it's unprogrammed, which is how I would call it, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, it's right around, it's between 4,000 and 5,000 square feet.
But the extra space was calculated based on the architect talking to the department heads and understanding how much growth is expected in these departments over the years, so that there would be space for them to grow into.
Yeah, and it certainly was a topic of conversation at that last joint meeting.
Well, if you just eliminated that 4,000 square feet at 500 a square foot, that's $2 million right there.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to save the full $500 a square foot, but, yeah, it's built square footage that,
It was $500,000 for the concrete shell out.
yeah.
It was 500,000 for the concrete shell out.
Well, 500,000 would build us a big barn and put to store stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the square footage, while it's getting utilized as storage in today's program, it's really more about the flexibility for the future of that building, right? So, if some departments grow or services need to be added into the building or whatever, you just have flexibility inside of that building more so than, because it's expensive storage. Nobody would build that basement as storage. That's not, that's not really the purpose there. It's more about long-term flexibility than it is storage.
And to refresh my memory, what would be down there, the extension office?
Yeah, it's
Title 4D office, extension,
the corner,
Veteran.
Trustee,
trustee, and then
the multipurpose, the, yeah.
and the bathrooms, for the full build out. Wouldn't have to be done.
My other question is you guys see a need to have 2 kitchens in this building? Got a kitchen downstairs and a kitchen upstairs.
The upstairs, I don't know that, I don't think, cause it's not a kitchen, it's just like,
There's no stove or nothing. There is 2 refrigerators.
there's refrigerators and
Well,
there's,
there's a stove in there.
no, there's not upstairs.
It's gone now?
There wasn't ever one, there was microwaves up there,
Yeah.
but there was no stove. Downstairs was the only one for the extension office and their cooking stuff, and their classes that they have.
Well,
So you're talking 9 million for a 1-story building at 13,000, or 13 whatever for 23,000, or whatever, 26,000.
Just a pure building cost, yeah.
Say that again.
I thought it was,
it's like
The
4
numbers
million.
he just said was, for the, as it says, is 13 whatever, 13.1. That's construction cost only, that didn't include all the other stuff. All
Just the
bonding
building.
and all that other,
Yes.
Just the building,
that's just the building.
13.
13.1,
Okay, I had-
or 9 million for a 1-story, 13,000 square feet.
But the 1-story won't leave us any
We have,
room for new employees or anything like that, right?
not everyone will fit there, I don't think.
No, there's room on the main floor for a couple of extra people, but it's not the build-out program that the architect was, designing to.
how much room do we need for the Title 4D?
I mean, they did their space study right now, we're renting that office. It was, well, Elizabeth South owns it, across from the Pizza Hut, behind the gas station, it's a full building right now.
That's the overall office, right?
Yeah, like Tim's old
Yeah.
office, when he was there, and Scott Hoff was there, Elizabeth was there. It's got,
I can't we buy it? Who's thinking? Do they gotta be in the courthouse?
no, they haven't been in the courthouse for years.
Right, well, I thought, yeah.
They were across the street for a while, they were over here for a while.
Because my next question is the extension office, I know, we know a place that's for sale that can be bought. And it can be renovated cheaper for a purpose like that than it would have been for the health department. Or does anybody have any ideas how you gonna pay for it if we don't raise property taxes?
But Andy, if we pay 9 million to build a 1 floor, a 1 level, and then we spend $1 million to put the extension north, and then we buy the building for Title 4D, whatever that's gonna
We don't even know if that's for sale. Let's-
Right.
I
yeah.
know, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing things out there. We're not too far from a brand new building for everybody for 13 million.
Building cost only.
No, but the 13 million is just for the top floor, I'm talking about the people that's down.
No, I understand, but no matter what, there's gonna be, just, say we buy the building to the north to put extension in for 500,000, renovate it and all of that. We're still gonna have to borrow money for it, to pay for it, if it's $1 million.
put a committee together over a year ago that has went through this and has went through all of these items, and I think we, you know, Stephanie, you were on that committee. Give us the rundown of who was on the committee again, so we can,
So, Rick was on the committee, Christina, Jim, Phil Gick, previous council member, and myself were all on the committee.
and I'm assuming that you guys went through all those scenarios, all those questions, all those thoughts.
I mean, as many things that we could think of and options and cut things and this, that, and the other.
I told everybody, I did a quick,
Meeting number 45.
I did a quick Google search on my calendar, which I don't always keep things on, but the last year and a half, or since we pretty much, what I feel like we got the okay to go forward from the council, on my calendar have been 42 meetings.
We've added since then.
42 meetings. And that again, I don't always go to all of them. I miss some, I do whatever. But I mean, I guess, at least with the going forward with the need, what my mind is if we didn't need it, then we shouldn't have spent the last, whatever, going 42 meetings.
And $800,000.
And talking about building it, if it wasn't gonna be a possibility, we could have shifted our efforts and focused somewhere else in. And if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. You guys are all elected officials and you vote what your constituents say, and I get that, but that's just some of us, like when we talk about some of these scenarios, have we gone over it? I think we've gone over it, in my opinion, ad nauseum. I mean, how many meetings Stephanie and I leaves, I'm like, oh, we're talking about
Fixtures and
fixtures
colors and
and carpet.
carpet
I'm like,
and trim.
I'm colorblind, I'm leaving. So I can't help out.
They'll save the money to mount the toilets on the wall or the floor.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess I felt like we've gone through a lot of this, but again, it's a big step. The one question is with the cost is, I don't know how much longer the bids are good.
I don't either.
And-
Do you have an answer on that?
If you don't do it now, that's fine, or, maybe you choose to do a different project. I've heard about a couple other projects, that's fine, but if it's not 15 or 16 now, 3 or 4 years from now, it's gonna be 24.
When we started this program 2 years ago at least, when they came in and said our building was old, it's deteriorating, it's overweighted, and we needed to do something about it. This was the answer when the original council started.
That,
And we had to do something because
So,
we laid out
I
this
got a question
courthouse.
for you. How are you gonna eliminate the weight on the third floor? You gonna redo the chambers and move all the judges' chambers and courtrooms in the basement? I mean, down here on the first floor? I mean, that's where the weight is right there.
That south, let's see, was it this corner, the treasurer's corner? Is that the one that?
Third floor or second floor? I thought it
Oh,
was,
second
The
floor.
second floor.
Second floor that's been shifting.
The,
Third.
courtroom's on the third, but I thought the second floor was
the second floor was the floor that had the weight on it, for the most part, because of all the storage for all the different departments, with the books and the files and everything, the books mainly, the file cabinets. And that was started 20-plus years ago, when Kim Heighton was still the planning director, and they came in and they did that structure, and we found out that the building had shifted and was falling on that corner. So this
That's when
is,
they should've built the annex, because you'd have built for $2 million then.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
argue with that,
we
Some
agree.
of the previous councilmen
not me.
was sitting on there, and now they're the ones that are wanting to build the building, one of them.
I'm not arguing any of that.
I've been county attorney since 2013. I think the first time we started talking about it was probably 2014 or 2015. Dave Barry was involved, Mr. Furman was involved, there was a lot of us Jill Bridgewater, we were having meetings and stuff then, and I think I remember a figure of 6 or 7 million, okay?
The construction's been going up for what, 20%
So
every year?
that was 10 or 12 years ago when we probably started that, so essentially looking at all options, whether it was acquiring a building around town, which I can tell you, having been on that committee, we looked at basically every empty building in town, or any building that wasn't empty. Some people approached us about and said, hey, if it's close to downtown, would you consider this? And we looked at it.
Well, we looked at Masonic Home, we looked
Right.
at Old National Bank.
We looked at building in the
The hole there.
the hole that's over here on the south side, where the fire took out the building. Pretty extensive, but,
No elevators. Nothing had elevators.
nothing at elevators. And I don't disagree with Commissioner Beck. What I'm just saying is at some point, it's not gonna be anybody in this room's problem or to deal with it, but if you wait another 10 years, somebody might be saying exactly what he's saying. Well, you could have built it in 26 for 15, 16 million.
So what was their holdup then? When it was $6 million?
That long ago, I don't know.
Same amount of money.
Nobody wanted to spend.
Nobody wants to, nobody wanted to spend the money. And that's part of the,
Same
why we're,
problem we've had with bridges for the last
That's-
30 years.
nobody wants to spend the money. That's
Yeah,
why
man,
we're-
since I've been involved, we've never actually had we've never gotten this far.
Right,
Our county has been very fiscally responsible for the last 30 years, and
Yeah.
this is where we're at.
and we're gonna be spending the money now that
Correct
we've
me if
never
I'm
spent over the last
wrong,
30 years.
The jail was still, we created the, edit to pay for the mandated jail.
Yes,
And the jail was done in 2018, was the last
Yeah.
payment, is when it rolled off. And I think the intent was, years ago, was when that rolled off, then we would have the money for the annex.
right, to keep taking that money, that was, those payments from there and to continue the next project and,
Which was approximately $500,000 a year,
yeah.
if I remember right. It was give or take, but the edit money that was, in fact, that was part of the deal. We had to say, we're gonna use this money going forward.
For,
But didn't we have some big 911 expenses right when the jail came off, that then we put the annex on the back burner because we were spending copious amounts of money
Spent $1 million on the software.
on the software? There was something else that we did also, so I think that's,
so it's just been put on the back burner over and over.
And you like to excuse it and say it every time, but I will tell you, COVID hit, and that was,
Yeah.
I think
we didn't have
the
money.
day before we shut everything down, Dave Barry and I looked at a building, and it was literally 2 days later, we were shutting it, so I mean, it stopped.
Probably got 900,000 to $1 million already invested in this project. And we're no farther was when we started.
Oh, we are further.
Well,
We own
we have
plans,
plans.
regardless if we use those plans or not.
We
We've
have a
spent
plan.
money on plans. They're ours, right? Regardless. So, yeah, for the most part.
Not
So,
just a good-
so are the numbers still good? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Until
we
when?
have to we requested and received confirmation from all our suppliers that they would hold pricing through June,
Through the end of June.
through the end of June.
Okay.
So, I know we still have to figure out our funding stuff, which is why I think that we need to continue to have these funding meetings to figure out our numbers, our revenue, because there's a lot, the commissioners have a lot of things that they want, and it's not their wants, it's the needs of the county. We have to continue to move things forward, but I think we need to look at all of our options and to see what we can do with stuff and to figure out these numbers. I know we're looking at other revenue sources, if we can get, things created in legislation that will help us out down the road also, that we've already talked to legislators and our state reps about. So, that could benefit us in helping to pay for this. So, anything else? Do we have are we gonna try and move this forward?
my dollar about.
Well, my thing is with this letter to intent, it is saying that we need it and we are going to move forward. But we are saying we are moving forward when we still don't have an agreement on any kind of funding, but we're saying we're gonna build a building. That's how I'm perceiving it, correct? What this is saying that we are intending to move forward on building a building. Yet we're still not in agreement with how we're gonna pay for it or a final amount or anything, but we're basically saying we have to pay, or we're gonna have to move forward.
So I
If
think
we all
we
sign that.
know that we're sending it out for, I think, to some degree, since we talked with Jason, from Baker Tilly, I'm sorry, yes, that we have our options of our funding. I think it's the amount, is that the issue, or is it that not at all that, I mean, we have to send it out, even if we have local bank funding, we still are sending it through, the process starts at the same place, whether we do it as a bond on the open market, or local financing, it starts at the same spot, and I agree.
You're correct. The amount that's presented to you today and the way that it's presented, yeah, if we were lined up to do local funding or however we wanted to do that, it'd be the same, because I always present the worst case scenario for tax levy.
Right.
It doesn't mean that, instead of, I'm not your financial advisor, so I get out of my lane pretty quick, but it's, you have other sources. Does some money not go to rainy day? I mean, you've got spaces you're leasing, that money's available for other use. There are other sources of funding that, don't put it 100% as it is, but that's not up to me to decide.
So I'm gonna throw that back to council then, I think that then maybe there needs to be discussion at that point, where do you get the money to pay for the bonding or the loan or whatever that is, to pay for it? Where do you get that money, and is there a maximum amount? And I think that if there's not consensus on that, then we have to take a step back. So I'll throw that to you, Stephanie, as to either lead that discussion, because I think that's where the holdup is right now. Unless I'm wrong, if I am wrong, then someone needs to speak up and say, no, that's not the issue, or that is the issue, and we need to address that issue.
That is the issue.
Okay,
The maximum money we want to spend.
okay.
If we're comfortable with where we're at right now, then we go forward. If we're not comfortable with this, where we were last month, then we don't go forward. Until we get to that point where we're comfortable with the amount of money, then we can proceed.
Wait, what do you mean, the maximum amount you wanna spend on building, or the maximum amount you wanna fund through property taxes? Or what
Building,
specifically do
the
you-
maximum amount we want to spend on this project. I mean, we met there in April and some were 16, some were 15. With the 2 million we have stayed, we financed this amount, but we're past that amount that we all said we wanted to finance. So do we get back to the point where we want to get to there, where we're comfortable, or do we say we're happy with what we've gone over?
But my question is, if you, whatever your dollar amount you're comfortable with, still, how do you intend to fund that?
Well, we're not really talking funding now, we're just, are we still comfortable in that amount we want to spend? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like I said, in April, some of us were 16, some of us were 15, take away the 2 million that we had in the bank, we'd finance either 13 or 14, but we're past that 13 or 14 million we wanted to finance, so we're not really comfortable in that amount.
For the task at hand today, that resolution is just identifying that there's a need for the county, correct?
But
Yeah.
this is a legally binding document, so saying that we are moving forward with this project. And then if we never come to a consensus and we never come to an agreement about the price, then what?
Then it's a dead issue.
Project dies.
The
Still
project
dies.
dies.
Even though this is saying that we
If
are,
it comes to the if this step 2 goes
Mhm.
through, and then we get to step 6, 7, 8, whichever step number that is, and it comes back to you and it says, just pick a number, here's $14 million or $15 million for that number, and you guys vote whatever, 7-0 to deny it, then the project's dead.
It's dead.
I think that's what Ice Miller said last
Yes,
month, is
it
what
is.
Lisa said, is
Yeah,
that this is not holding you accountable, that if you
then
get
why
to
is
the
it
numbers.
needed?
It's paperwork.
To
That's
go
it.
towards funding, 'cause
State
you
red
don't,
tape,
and you don't know what the amounts are at this point,
Projects.
It's the state process of
Yes.
government.
But the way
to
they
go
had
to bid.
But the way they had it figured to pay for it was to raise property tax.
That
No.
was how, that is how Jason presented things, was to
So
do
my
that, but
question
that
is,
wasn't,
If we don't raise property taxes, how are you gonna pay for it?
And
that's
that's for
what
them to
we have to
discuss.
figure out.
Step
That's,
5, 6, or 7.
right, that's what we're still working on with, like I said, with the legislation, which, we talked about on, we've talked about on Saturday or whatever. That's stuff that we're trying to,
Well, one of them
Get all
can't
these
be
extra
used for
pieces.
nothing but bridges and roads, the way it's written up.
right, no, yeah. I mean, there's like, just like the hazardous waste, it can only be used for specified things. We have other options, other avenues of revenue that we can take into consideration in order to put down payments on this to help reduce the cost of what we finance, whether it's bonding or whether it's a construction loan. So we can look at those avenues to help pay for this also on that part of it too, to help keep the costs down, so we are not trying to raise property taxes.
So you're all comfortable using the rainy day fund or the war chest on this building and not fix somebody's road or bridge with it?
I think we have to look at all of our problems, because they didn't all, they just didn't pop up overnight. This has all been kicked down the can the same time, but all together. So we have to take a look at everything and try to figure out what we can do to help fix all the different problems as much as possible. Anything else?
The other thing I'd like to see is, I know we've talked about different revenues. What are those revenues? Because I've talked to you, about there's money here, there's money there, but, and that cost, the expenses, the payments, if I understood it right, that was worst case scenario that was listed.
Everything that
Yes.
Baker Tilly presents has to be worst case scenario.
Yes.
I'd like to see a not so worst case
Well,
scenario
that all
to see.
depends on
But
how
you
much.
have to.
Okay, let's take for instance, let's say the last 2 years you put $1 million in the rainy day, correct?
Yes.
Right? Let's just take the scenario of, for the next find another way to pay for it.
Another way, yeah.
Now, you're not guaranteed that 800,000 every year either. So if it's a
Exactly.
20-year note and you're 8 years down the road, and something happens, the legislator changes this, changes that.
And I think that goes to your bond rating also for when they go to either sell your bond or the sellability of the project and the funding of that goes to whether or not you have those funding sources. And again, I'm out of my lane also, I think to Jason at Baker Tilly about that, but my understanding, my hearing of that is that having those things in place helps your bond rating as you're selling those.
But all these questions are why they do it worst case,
Yes,
Yes.
and I understand that.
and why we need the approval to continue to have the discussions.
And why we need to continue to look at all of our options and continue to try to move things forward to figure out, we've got radios, we've got bridges, we've got, there's something, the health department, we figured one out, so we've gotta look at all of the sources of revenue of what we've got coming down the pike, what we currently have, and what is gonna change at some point. So, it's not something that we can just drop and be done with right now, unfortunately. We have to keep moving forward with it and keep looking at all the different avenues and opportunities to be able to retain revenue, to be able to pay for this stuff, to fix things and move things forward. So it's not a decision that we have to make where it's all being paid for right this moment, thankfully. Just are we gonna move forward with this? So, there's a resolution. Are we bringing it back up? Are we making a motion to move forward or not?
Motion to move forward. We can't do anything until we can start finding out what finances are available to us. Until we do that, we have no idea where we're gonna be at, but if we can't get there, then we're wasting our time here. Whether it's 10 million or 15 million, doesn't matter until we find out what we can do, what our options are. That's just how I feel about it, but I spent so much time dealing with this.
All right, we have a motion for the resolution 2026-01-20-1. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
I have 2 noes. Carrie, were you a yay or, okay, you were quiet, so I couldn't hear. There you go. All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
It passes. Next topic, discussion, since this is our joint meeting and we're talking about things.
Other buildings. We already discussed Board of Health during your normal
Well,
meeting.
Board of Health, the other thing is, the contract, the way it is the closing is February 1st, but it's 45 days, within 45 days. So we have time, we're just short of 2 months of getting, if we need to, get the appraisals, get all that kind of thing done. I think we're still okay. We're gonna have to say we need to, on the hot, but I think it can still happen. And I don't know, are we just ask the same people that did the last 2? Last time, the hospital paid for one, and we paid for one.
You mean appraisals?
Yeah.
The bank will order those.
Okay,
We won't. It'll be included in our closing costs.
okay.
So it's not additional we're gonna have to do?
I'm just saying, I usually reach out and make those arrangements and say, hey, we need this done now.
That's because the bank will.
Okay.
Well,
Are you better off having your own and sent to the bank or the bank?
The bank accepts.
That's a good, you're probably right, Rick. You probably need to talk.
I assume the bank has their own appraisal people.
That's not been my experience.
Okay.
I think we need to find that out and then move appropriately.
I'm good at using whoever we use.
I'm not saying it can't be rolled into your closing costs, but.
We really won't come to that point till we put the bank. So, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because we're gonna send it out to all the banks in the county, correct?
But I'm wondering if you order your appraisals, at that point they're your appraisals, like either,
I
usually a couple of them, and then you can send them to whatever banks you want to get quotes from.
We use the last appraisals to justify the price,
Purchasing
the
the
purchase
Right,
price.
right.
Yes.
So you're probably right, it's probably at this point, whatever the financing is gonna be
And
is,
plus, we're gonna add in the 400,000,
Yeah,
okay,
okay?
yeah,
So it has to be,
okay.
so now we're gonna ask for 1.1. What we're gonna ask for, or whatever the number is, okay? The appraisals for the buildings come in at 968 and whatever the other number was. I can't remember it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is, I get, yeah.
you know, it'll be $1,110,500.
So, it'll be up to whichever bank wins the bid to decide how they wanna do it.
I missed asking a question, so.
It would save us money, interest to do the construction on it. Cause he said today, what he said, Andy, 3 months, 4 months,
Mhm.
to do all the renovations.
Mhm.
If they get started right, if they start by March the 1st, they could possibly be in there by the end of August, 1st of September.
So is the hospital gonna allow them to stay where they're at until this is done?
Yes.
Okay.
They better.
That's what was my concern.
Part of the agreement, well, part of the agreement that was, I mean,
Yeah.
we need to close on it, but when the agreement that we worked out was that, you know, we understand that the health department, they don't wanna stay, they would like to get in as soon as possible.
Right.
And the hospital, I believe, would like to have them out as soon as possible as well, to utilize the space. So I don't think there's any idea on either party's side that there's gonna be any lollygagging on it. It's just, you know, so, but we did leave it such that it's up in the air. We don't know how long it's gonna take to get it redone, so when we talked about it, it was, they're gonna be allowed to stay there, what
Until
they're
the
paying,
renovations.
until they get those, because again, when we were first talking about this in October, November, they weren't certain when they were gonna be able to
Right.
pull the trigger on everything now. So that, I think even once we close, that's the date to me that's important now, is the 45 days. We need to get signed tonight, but 45, it's already been approved, but 45 days from the first, we need to get our closing in there, and then from there we can, but we've got the list of stuff that they're taking with them, I mean, all that stuff,
Okay.
they're leaving town.
Okay.
Literally, we talked this thing.
But I guess as far as the financing for that, I mean, do we request for proposals from banks, or, I mean, what,
Yeah.
What?
for the financing, the 1.1?
Correct.
Okay, so like we need to start on that this week,
Yes.
Tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah, so we can.
Mr. Clampett is texting me back when I asked the question who orders them. I haven't got a text back yet, but I should have one here in a second, so.
I've already contacted.
Well, I think, yeah, you've had.
I tried to contact Tri County Bank today, and here's what you get. You call the main branch, and you think somebody'd answer the phone. You gotta leave them a voicemail, and they will get back with you. So, I've struck one against them, so we need to.
Unless their interest rate's really low.
Jim, we'll need to figure out with the hospital also, which the commissioners have a meeting with the hospital.
Yeah, you gotta get that advertised for us, because we're having an executive session with the hospital board on February 3rd at 9 a.m.
I'll take care of it.
Anyway, we're gonna have to transfer all the utilities the 1st of February. So who takes care of that? I'm assuming, is that Joni, is that the auditors, is that you, is that me, Andy, Tom?
I'm not paying their bills.
And that's with the hospital, like the hospital board, or?
Yep,
Yep.
commissioners and the hospital
Yeah,
board.
meeting
The hospital board called the meeting.
What time? 9 a.m. where?
at the hospital,
At
3rd floor.
Mr. Clampett indicates, this is on back our appraisal question, I think municipal folks have to have 2 appraisals, which we would agree with that. If you already have done that, possibly could just send us copies and pay for name change, which sounds fantastic if that's something we can get accomplished. So maybe we need to explore that idea with Mr. Clampett in the morning, so.
I feel comfortable that we've done what we were supposed to do
I
as a
agree.
government entity in getting our appraisals.
Yes.
It's the financiers at this point, if they wanna take those, that's.
If they would use those, that would save us some money, which would be great, so.
Great. All right. Motion to adjourn? Second. Amanda made the motion, Danny second. Thank you, everybody.
Do you want Thank you guys for
So I'm
coming.
gonna draft an I need to
Yes.
get an RFP.
And I would attach those, I would attach those appraisals to it and then see if they'll take them. Before I order new ones, I'd see if they use the old ones, wouldn't you?
There's some of the stuff that.
They may not, but they might.
I
Is it
imagine,
big enough, it's big enough that makes, I don't know, if that makes them more nervous or if they actually wanna do it.
usually when you get a loan and stuff, don't they make you do more appraisals?
What?
I bet they're gonna make us do appraisals and stuff too, because every time you get a loan, like when you refinance, he said that the appraisals are good for 6 months. I don't remember when those appraisals were done.
How they're gonna change that much?
I don't know, I don't think they're gonna change that much.
I don't either.
So,
Rick just told me about 2 hours.
for that information. So I will get with Christina and I will go over what she has given me, what Jason has talked to her, and what Jackie has said, so that we can try and lay out some of the plan. These are our funds, these are what we have in them,